Hello.
Hello, everyone in live streaming land. This is going all over the place on social media channels. You are here live with me. My name is Maureen. I'm a nonprofit digital strategist and technology coach. And about once a week on Friday afternoons, I do a live stream where we talk about things that are important to nonprofit accidental techies. And today, yet again, I'm so excited to have my friend and colleague, Julia Campbell, join me this afternoon.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you. Even though my voice sounds a little scratchy, I'm sorry.
Yeah, she has
that
a cold.
time of year.
We've been through some. Should we sit so close together without masks on? And we're all good. We are all good.
I got tested.
So what we're going to talk about today is planning. Julia and I did a very similar live stream in June where we came together, we met in the middle, we both live in Massachusetts, and we found a workspace that we rented for the day, and it was much more claustrophobic than the one that we're in today. And we kind of held our feet to the fire for our own business plans for the second half or so of calendar year 2021. And so we decided that we were going to get together again, sort of look back at how well we did with some of the promises that we made to ourselves and each other, and make a plan for the first half of 2022. Because I don't know about you, Julia, but I am tired of waiting for the world to turn back to 2019 before I feel like I can stick my nose out there and do something new. Yeah. You feeling the same way?
Exactly. And it's not going to happen. The dust is kicked up, and even if it settles, it's going to settle in different ways. And I think we just have to live with this next normal and really learn to adapt sort of the best way that we can.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. I also think what's beneficial about the planning is that we're both have similar businesses and can really understand the same sort of struggles and challenges and opportunities.
Right. And we're not competitors. So that also helps.
To be honest, I don't think either of us have competitors.
We are unique and one of a kind. That's all you
can
believe
handle. In having competitors.
I say we can be competitors, but we don't have to be competitive.
Right.
Everybody, there's plenty of projects and plenty of wonderful nonprofit organizations out there. So why scrap and scrimmage? That's what I say. So Julia, when you reflected back on 2021's plan, what's one thing that you did that is like the crown jewel of your year?
I launched my podcast.
And I'm going to chat that podcast link in right now. Yeah, you were still planning it and scheduling your interviews when we met in June.
Yeah.
Why don't you fill me in on what's happened since then?
I did so much planning, and I have that perfectionist syndrome. If it's not perfect, I'm not going to do it. I also really was resistant to the idea of hiring out anything. I thought I could do it all myself. But once I kind of got over those two things, it just became enjoyable and fun and so much easier. So we launched it mid-August, and as of right now, it has almost 10,000 downloads.
Fantastic.
And I do one episode a week on Wednesdays. So I'm so thrilled.
I'm really proud of you because it makes me tired just thinking about having to create that much content.
Yeah.
Did you feel like it was a perfectionist or control?
Control. A lot of control. And a lot of just, am I really doing this? So that's why I wanted to record so many episodes, because then I would have had to email everybody and say, oh, sorry, I'm not doing the podcast. So it's almost holding me accountable for it. But we have really great systems in place. The podcast production people that I use, really great systems. Like we go over what the month is going to look like. They do the social media graphics, the little audio clip. I have a list of my to-dos. They have a list of their to-dos. I mean, it really is now kind of like a well-oiled machine. And it also plays on my strength. Like I really wanted to do more with my strengths, which are journalism and writing and speaking.
Yeah.
And I was writing the blog, but I just wasn't excited about it anymore. I really wasn't getting the thrill that I used to. So I thought, how can I use those skills and still be supporting my audience? And also I really want to get new voices out there too.
Yeah.
So that's been a goal of mine with the podcast, is to get brand new voices, because I think in this sector, we all kind of get in an echo chamber a little bit.
Yeah.
So that was
and
one of my
there are
goals.
some awesome, I will call them newish, yet seasoned and fabulous nonprofit consultants out there. It's so exciting for those of us who've been in the space for a while to actually see and help support new consultants who want to make the world a better place, just like we do. So I think that's awesome.
I love that. I love that.
My crown jewel was that on Monday, actually, right before Thanksgiving, I finally, after procrastinating for almost a year, and I'm admitting this now, I launched my first ebook, which is called Get a Return on Your Nonprofit Technology Investment. It's available on my website right now. I will chat that link in a second. And it's all about how you, even if you're not a technically trained person and you don't know what you're doing with some of this stuff, that your skills that you use as a manager or as a leader, those are completely transferable skills. So it's super complicated, it seems like, to say, how will my managerial skills translate to a CRM? It's a lot of the same thing. If you think about your products like they were a staff person, that staff person needs supervision, needs training, needs monitoring, needs support. Your tools need the same thing. And it's time to stop feeling like you are working in service of all of your technology. Like, I'm here to feed the email marketing beast. Your tools should be working for you much more than you are putting in to actually make them work. So I'm very excited about it. And I kind of had a come to Maureen moment last week where I said, you're going to finish these last couple tasks and you're going to launch it. So very excited.
Did you put the link?
I'm going to put the link in. So really the core of our time together today is going to be to go through the planning process that Julia and I used in June and that we're using today to kind of get our acts together. We have no end of ideas and opportunities and cool things that we want to deliver to help our industry, the great nonprofit industry, just do better and experience success, however you might measure that. So we get in our own way all the time. We got 1,000 shiny objects that are just like ripe to pluck. But we used a lot of discipline last year, and I think it really worked.
Yeah. No, I think so too. The other thing I would say is that just those two shiny moments, I think launching a podcast, launching an ebook into the world, really, if we need to pat ourselves on the back. So,
hey, self-pat and
because that is a lot more than most people do. And to us, we're trying to be overachievers. Yeah. So to us, it's sort of, I forgot about my podcast. It is my crowning jewel. But there's so many other things swirling around in my head. So the way we structure our planning process, I am a huge fan of an online marketing guru. Her name's Amy Porterfield. She has the Online Marketing Made Easy podcast. And she had a podcast in 2018 about planning that I still use, down to the step-by-step. So we adapted it. We did have a few ground rules that we use that actually I think are really helpful. We focus on 6 months, and that helps you sort of see a bigger picture for the year, but you can also still have some wiggle room to change. We also take an entire day and we kind of turn off our phones. We get out of our houses. We are away from everything else, put on our out of office messages. And then what I really enjoy about this is I could do this at home in my office, but having another person that knows your business. So for nonprofits, it could be someone that's a staff member, but it could also be another development director, or marketing director, social media, tech person, ED, having that support system, that person who knows your business. Don't have like your spouse or your partner.
You say that like you've done it that way.
Oh my gosh. Well, I've tried to run things by my husband, but he he does not understand what it's like to run your own business, to be your own boss, and to create content for a living, which is really what I do, with trainings and speaking and
courses
and everything.
Podcasts.
Right. So it's hard for him. Like he would look at all of our goals and think, I have no frame of reference. So it's helpful to have someone that has a frame of reference when you talk about, this is year-end fundraising time. This is our annual appeal. This is our gala.
Yep.
This is our this, because then they know immediately when you say those things, what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And also just to bounce ideas off of and really drill down, because I know so the first step is the goal setting.
Right.
But when I set goals, it's not enough to just say like,
have a podcast.
I'm going to take a week off and I'm going to take some time off. No, when are you going to do it? How much time are you taking off? What courses are you going to run? What is your goal for enrollment? Like having someone to ask you those questions so you don't just write, raising awareness on your raising awareness of the podcast. No, how many downloads do you want? How many guests do you want?
Yeah.
So when you're doing your goals, it does helpful to get as specific as you can. You don't need to know really when they're going to happen. You just need to kind of know how, or you just kind of know what you want to happen. Then the second piece, really figuring out your non-negotiables. What are you not willing to do anymore? Now, this is going to be great for all of you. I could already hear some of my clients filling up flip charts of things they're not going to do. They're not going to answer emails from the board chair at 5 a.m. on a Sunday, So just think of some things that drained you this year. Maybe you don't want to do Giving Tuesday anymore. Put it on that list. Maybe you don't want to do a gala anymore. Maybe what are your real things that didn't work that you are just personally and professionally not willing to do anymore? The third step is to dive into what worked this year.
Yeah.
So not even just what was your crown jewel. What are some things that lit you up? What did you like? What spurred you to get up in the morning? What got you excited? I mean, it could be working with clients. It could be starting a brand new program. It could be, you got $5,000 in sponsorship for this one event. It could be doing a Facebook Live for the first time. So what worked this year? And then step 4, what didn't work? That's not the same as non-negotiables. It's what things did you do? You're like, oh, well, we started an Instagram channel. That's not really for us. Or we tried Facebook fundraising. It didn't really work. Or
Julia,
can you think of some examples?
Yeah. So I'm going to use a live example from the flip charts that you can't see that are covering the wall behind the camera right now. So I had a bunch of didn't works. One of them in particular was I've stopped managing CRM migration projects. I've done a lot of them in my career. They're never fun. They're always unpredictable in a fairly unpleasant way. And they're just very fiddly, painstaking projects that seem like they're never going to end. So I said this year, I'm not going to do any more of them. And I actually kept my promise. I did turn some of them down. And I've actually got a client who was about to start a CRM migration who was saying, if you want to manage this project, I can't do it. It's just not a good fit for me and my time anymore. But I'll matchmake you to somebody who does a great job at that and really enjoys them. Julia, how about you? What were some of your didn't work last year?
I want to continue with the work-free evening. So that's still kind of a non-negotiable. I don't want to do hourly work anymore. So I want to really transition more into values-based and project work, much more than sort of counting the hours on the clock. I think actually, now that I'm thinking about it, another good example for a nonprofit would be not making excuses for that problematic board member anymore, not going to lunches with the donor that makes you feel uncomfortable.
Not giving feedback to an underperforming staff person because you're worried you won't be able to fill that seat.
That's a great one. So really, really drill down deep into what you're not going to do anymore.
Yeah. And it's not like flipping a switch.
No.
Like it took me a while to get to the point where I felt comfortable and confident saying the words, no, I'm not going to manage that project. But it felt so good for me to keep that promise to myself. And it hasn't impacted, knock wood, hasn't impacted my business at all. Really, I'm doing things that actually float my boat a little bit more.
Well, then they're more in your zone of genius.
Zone of genius. You heard it here first. So we set our goals.
Yes.
Was the next step, right? We thought about what we
goals
wanted.
Goals is the first step. Non-negotiables. What worked, what didn't work. And then we work on our action plan, which is where we're going right now. So we take all of these fantastic do's, don'ts, did work, didn't work, what we want to do more of, what we want to do less of. And then we actually filter them down into, well, for us, how are we going to make money? How are we going to make money this year? So if you're the development director, you probably want to have your revenue streams and then, your marketing promotion streams. How are you, if you're a program director, how are you getting clients in the door? So that's when we drill down into the action items. And this is like half a day. Like we're not even on, what are we going to do Q1, Q2? We're just making to-do lists right now.
Yeah.
And then it helps you because you can see there's no way I'm going to be able to get all of this done, all of this awesome stuff that I want to get done. It's just not possible with the non-negotiables. I think that's something you can look at too. Like yeah, sure, I could get all this done.
Yeah.
But you know what? I really want to take off 2 weeks in April. I want to spend time with my kids after school. I don't want to wake up at 5 a.m. and I don't want to work nights.
And this is work-life balance stuff. And it's true for everybody. I don't care what your role is inside your nonprofit organization. If you are somebody who works for a company that works with nonprofits, or you're a solo person like Julia and I think what 2020 and 2021 have taught us is that the only person who knows whether you're living your best life is you. And that takes a little bit of, I'm going to scratch some things off. And I've facilitated so many strategic planning processes, annual planning processes, technology, improvement, transformation projects. And everybody has an unrealistic idea of how much they can actually get done. And the ability, having the freedom or making the agreements inside your team or your organization to say, are we really going to do that? Or is it just something that needs a home? Like it might as well be on a parking lot somewhere, because the thought bubble over all of our heads is not going to happen. So it's really about figuring out what is okay to let go of, painful though it might be, important though it might be, interesting though it might be. It's not gonna happen. And be okay with that, and like keep a flip chart or keep a Google Doc or something with those things on it for, a bunch of revenue lands in your lap. You have a new donor who wants to fund a thing. Go back to that list of stuff. If you feel like, wow, our team is all sitting around twiddling our thumbs, looking for things to do. So be realistic, I think. And Julia and I, in our first half of the day today, were very disciplined until we weren't.
Right.
And then I think we were like, and another thing.
Oh, and another thing.
And another thing. And
well, what happened was, not to interrupt you, but now I can see what happened is we wrote like things that worked, but things that we want to do more of. But underneath that, like I can't just write podcast. Right?
There's 17 hours.
17 tasks that need to go into making a podcast work. So when you write down those big goals, like this, a gala. Oh, you can't just have a gala on your to-do list.
Only
10,000 little tasks. So that's what I think is good about the 6-month planning is you put a ton of those big things, and then you get a little more granular, and then you really start seeing, okay, what is it going to take to make this goal a reality with the amount of hours that we actually have in a day?
This lets you go into the new year, even if it's not your fiscal year, the new calendar year, sort of recharged. Like I'm not setting myself up for impossible goals. They're actually possible. And I can't use the excuse that I had too much on my plate because I had the discipline in the planning process to take a bunch of stuff off. And this goes into the how so we talked about the planning process for a few minutes. Now I want to spend a couple minutes talking about how you're going to show up, whatever your title is, whether you've been there a long time, a short time, you're supervising people, you're not supervising people. I don't care. This is just about people, human people, who have had a rough couple of years. So I don't want to limp into 2022 like I'm part of George Washington's Revolutionary Army with like rags tied around my feet for shoes, because that's how it felt a lot of 2020 and a lot of 2021. I want us to stop pivoting and start being proactive. Start not just being a passenger in the things that we do, the priorities that we set, but personally how you're going to show up and make this stuff happen. And I've got a couple of tips for you. The first is, as Julie has mentioned a couple times, you got to take time off, people. Don't be a hero or a shero. You have to fill your own cup. And so for you, what I'd say, sitting here in December, even if you think you're like, we're closed, the week between Christmas and New Year's, I'm going to totally refill myself. No, you won't.
Kids will be home. You'll be cleaning up after holidays.
And your cup is a lot emptier maybe than you think that it is. 1 week of holiday festivities off is not going to fill you back up again. So look at your calendar and block PTO. Every one Friday a month. Come in late one Monday a month. Block out that week, even if you have no plans. I don't care what you do. Nobody cares what you do. You're just not doing work and really, really don't do work. So that's the first key for you to have 2022 be a decent year for you. Block time out and take it. Take it. Second thing that Julia and I both suffer from very badly is we say yes a lot when we really mean no.
or we waffle.
Yeah.
So what I do is I'll just say, oh, I'll get back to you. Or, oh, I'm really busy right now. Circle back in a month. Let's talk about that in a week. I do that so much. Yeah. And what I've discovered is that it's just kicking a can. It's not nice to people to string them along, but it's also just not nice to myself to have that weighing on me. So if you know something is not going to happen, or it's not part of your goals, or it's not going to help you raise that money, do that project, you gotta be comfortable saying no. And I know that the sector is full of people like us, people pleasers. We want to please everybody. We want to make everyone happy. And it's not possible. It's just not possible.
Well, here's the secret. I can imagine people watching this live or recorded going, well, they own their own businesses. Like they get to say no all the time.
We never do.
We never do. And you guys are our bosses. I need to tell you, like we say yes because we care. Just like you say yes because you sort of have to. Nobody wants to tell their boss no. It's a scary, sweaty moment to push back on some of those things. So you might want to practice recognizing when you want to say no. And instead of saying yes right away, maybe not do what Julia does, which she's going to stop doing, or decrease that a little bit, which is kicking it down the road. It's just a delayed no, essentially is what it is.
And it's just not, it's a delayed no.
Yeah. And practicing saying, I wish I could, maybe we can plan this in next quarter. Or can I help you find somebody who can do that? Or I know who might be able to help with that. Literally share the wealth and be collaborative around tasks. You're not going to be able to tell your boss, no, I'm not going to send that email out tomorrow. Like nobody's going to be able to do that. But what you can do is say, I need a week to plan, write, test, and send that email.
Mhm.
So I can't do it for you tomorrow,
Yeah.
but I can do it for you next Tuesday.
Or say, I mean, I had a boss, and a strategy that I learned when I worked at Boston University was, okay, I would love to work on this project, but here's my 5 other things I have going on. Can we deprioritize one of these so that I can focus my time on this project?
Right.
Because I don't remember who taught me that, but it's very valuable. Whoever is out there, that some marketing guru, productivity guru taught me that, because it's not saying no to your boss. It's just saying, I'm actually doing a lot of work. Because sometimes leaders in the organizations, your ED, your board chairs, they don't really know what's on your plate. They have no clue the other demands on your time. And they don't know, they don't remember that last week they just asked you to do this other big thing. So reminding them, saying, look, I'm keeping track, all the balls in the air.
Yeah.
I'm still working on everything, but if this is number 1, what becomes number last? So being strategic when you do that.
Yeah. I used to do a thing when I managed a lot of people for a long time. We used to have this activity called a time pie, where it was like a circle in a PowerPoint. And we would say, all right, 40% of your time is going to be spent on this. 10% of your time is going to be spent on that. And when new things showed up on people's plates, they would come to us with their time pie and say, what slice gets smaller, or who doesn't get a slice this month? So that visual of, you've given me 360,000 slices of things to do, and I need your help prioritizing. It's not anything that a good leader or a good supervisor will respond to with disdain, or you must not be a team player, or
no, it makes you look and feel organized and proactive.
Advocate for yourself, right? Like Stephanie just chatted in, I love it. I'm no longer going to work with useless tech. I need to make a sticker or some kind of LinkedIn image frame where it's like, I am not going to waste my time grinding away at this thing that isn't working well, never worked well. Get it out of here.
Round hole.
Get it out of here. So taking time off, saying no when you really mean no, stepping into your true power as a change leader. All of us, no matter what we do with and inside nonprofit organizations, are doing it because we have a desire to improve things. We want to fix things. We want to make people have better lives. We want the world to be a better place. And so that means that maybe the little box that you're in, or the box that your organization has put you in, you have actually outgrown that. And so, do you have advice, Julia, for people who feel like, man, I could be so much more effective if I actually was doing this role here, rather than leaving?
I do have that example, actually, because Maureen gave me a lot of really valuable help negotiating a client that I love, but where the scope creep is kind of going all over the place. And I want to do more work with them, and I want to prioritize them more. But the advice that she gave that I think is so valuable and relevant for really anyone is to say, here are my strengths, and this is where I can best be used. You're having me do this over here when you could probably get an intern to do it, or maybe an associate. I think I've grown into this role, or I can do more. I can bring more to the table, but I'm spending time deleting emails from the database that are no longer working, So really getting very clear on what your strengths are, what you can bring to the table, the value you bring to the table, the unique value you bring to the table. And I really think we need to do more to educate the leaders around our strengths. Like, if writing is a strength of yours, but the marketing team is terrible at writing, and
that would be bad.
Wouldn't that be bad? Or someone in your organization, I've seen this happen, the executive assistant, right? Or the receptionist. Oh my gosh, one place I worked, she was lovely, but she was writing the email newsletters that were for fundraising, and she's not a fundraiser. Right. So she had a lot of strengths around calling people on the phone, scheduling appointments, keeping everybody organized, managing a lot of the programs. But then when I came in as a development director, I had to say, writing is actually really one of my strengths and I love to do it. And I'm really good at it. And I'd love to figure out a way that I could take this off your plate. And then it ended up, she didn't like doing it anyway. So when we start talking about what we not only like to do, but what we're strong and what we're well suited to do, and then people are playing the roles where they're well suited to do that. I couldn't answer phones all day and talk to people all day and be polite. And I could never do that.
She's rude.
No, I'm nice, but I small talk with strangers all day. No, I couldn't do it. So I think just really, like Maureen said, stepping into your power and figuring out where you're best suited. And then if there's a new project that you want to work on, go to your boss and say, oh, I really want to work on this. Or if, this is something that the organization's taking on, if you have a great idea, share it. Don't be afraid to share it.
Yeah, it's a great time for employees right now because
we've got the power.
If you left, I don't know how long it's going to take them to replace you. So if you're feeling like, hey, this might be a good time for me to stretch myself or take on something new or drop something and pick up something else, you might want to rewrite your job description. Rewrite that job description and bring it to HR, bring it to your boss, and create the job of your dreams. Because let me tell you, they are going to be much more inclined, probably for the next 6 months or so easily, to say yes, because they don't want to lose you. Even if you're not all that great, like having somebody who's got enthusiasm and is thinking about what the organization needs and where they can bring value, that's, man, a stellar employee to me. That's somebody who cares about our success as an organization as much as they care about their own career.
And that's constantly what people are saying in terms of hiring right now. First of all, it's really difficult to hire people for any role, but then also people that have that initiative, that have that vision, and that aren't afraid of sharing their ideas, even though, they might get some pushback. They might say, okay, well, maybe we're not doing this today. Maybe it's a great idea for tomorrow. But it just shows you care about the organization and the cause, you're thinking about it, that you're not just sort of, a cog in the wheel, and that you're not just answering emails all day, really, which I know a lot of us do a lot of, but
too much. We're going to work on that with you this afternoon.
Yes.
And the last key here, the last thing for you as a human person working in this industry is be a little more proactive this coming year than you were in 2020 and 2021. I feel like nonprofits have, even back like in 30 years ago when I first started working inside a nonprofit, we were pretty reactive. Everything was at the last minute, or we were sending things out in reaction to something that was happening in the world or in our neighborhoods. And the past 2 years have forced us to just be super reactive about everything. I can go on vacation. I can't go on vacation. I can send my kid back to school. I can't send my kid back to school. We're working from the office. No, we're home again. So there are lots of places where you can turn up the volume on your proactivity personally. Get ahead of it. If your boss is continually saying 8-hour email project has to go out in 3 minutes, then you have to figure out a system that is going to let them fit in and give you what you need when you need it without forcing them to kind of change what they're doing.
Right.
Just start it earlier. That's all.
Exactly.
Exactly. And the best you could probably do is 80-20. I think that's like the zen of like 80% proactive, 20% reactive. Even if you could get it 70-30, even 70% reactive, 30% proactive might be a huge leap for you and your team.
Exactly. The reactive, if you really take a step back and think about what we have lived through in 2020 and 2021. I mean, we were treading water, and there were days when I was lucky that I got out of bed, honestly, in 2020. I mean, we had to celebrate those little things. We still do. A lot of us have suffered loss. A lot of us are still suffering health problems. We just have to have grace and give ourselves that grace to say, you know what, today, I really just can't do it. Like the news is overwhelming. I'm so overwhelmed. I can't do it. But then if you have those systems and processes in place that you can come back to, you won't feel as overwhelmed when you finally do come back and you kind of have a more manageable plan.
Yeah.
So I agree. I think we thought maybe we would be on the other edge of this, and now maybe we're backsliding a little bit into it again.
Yeah.
It's just a scary, uncertain time. I think we have to live with uncertainty. We just have to live.
Yeah.
We have to live.
We have to live.
We have to just live with it. I mean, let me tell you, oh my gosh. I know I always talk about the school committee, but
yeah.
we
There's a
try
lot
to
going
be, we
on.
try to be as proactive as possible and get in front of things.
Yeah.
Because the reacting gets people so anxious and stressed, and then they don't know what to expect. Like everyone's asking us, are we going to shut down schools again? We don't have any plan for that, but we have a plan to keep them open.
Yeah.
Here's our plan. If the world ends, the world ends.
Yeah.
But here's our plan going forward. No one can predict what's going to go on in 6 months, but here's what we know, and here's our plan. And if X happens, then this happens. If this happens, then plan B happens. So having that proactive, I mean, I think it really is, it's helpful to everyone around you, but it's helpful to yourself. And then also thinking, like we were saying, what's the worst? What's the worst that could happen? I'm not talking about like everyone dying. I'm talking the worst, like your nonprofit closing is probably the worst thing that could happen. Or, it's maybe like you don't raise the amount of money that you wanted this year and you might have, but it will get figured out, and we can't catastrophize and always be thinking that the world is going to end. That's kind of my advice.
It's no way to live. I think that we have to be where we are.
Yeah.
And you're all smart people. Like you're all smart and you're all do-gooders. And I think that the world can still be wonderful for us if we're bringing the right things into 2022 and taking care of ourselves.
Be kind to each other.
Be kind to each other. And you can't be kind to other people unless you're kind to yourself.
RuPaul says, if you can't love yourself, how in the hell are you going to love anybody else?
Okay, we cannot top that as a closer here. So Julia, it's always so fun to bring you on here. We have more planning to do, so we're not getting out of here for another couple of hours. More flip charts, more marker on the hand. I'll leave folks with a little pitch for next week's live session. I am actually going to do a little book review of my book. So I'm going to sort of flip through what's in it. It comes with 4 worksheets. And so we'll talk a little bit, just you and I, about the book and what it can do for you. And it can help you be more proactive and less reactive too.
Makes a great Christmas gift.
For yourself.
Or holiday gift.
That's right.
Hanukkah right now.
That's right. So I'll see all of you next Friday at 12:30 Eastern time. If you've got questions about our planning process, you can put comments in any of the social media channels, and Julia and I will keep our eyes open for them, and we'll give you some tips. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good rest of your Friday. We'll see you next week. Bye, folks. Oh, you get so serious at the end. Be safe.